You've stumbled into a show. It's probably not the one you expected. You were listening to something in your AirPods. You were trying to solve some mysteries with your AirPods. You know, that true crime. You were listening to one of those true crime programs, alright? You were trying to find the truth in the true crime in your AirPods. Like Unsolved Mysteries. Remember that show? Or like what? You're trying to find somebody that can read the Voynich manuscript? Or you want to find out who rolled the stones into Stonehenge? Or where'd that airplane go with all them Asian passengers on it? Did it go to the moon? Did it go to Mars? Did it slide into another dimension like Sliders? You know, true crime fans looking for like Cold Hearts Frozen in Cold Blood, A Mystery in Alaska. I can tell you that Mystery in Alaska is a good movie. Has nothing to do with true crime. Stick around for them movie reactions to a slasher movie that takes place in an ER. Stick around for honky-tonk werewolves doing boot scoot and boogeyman stuff. Let's start the show.
Crack open a cold box of wine or pour something cold on ice because it's the Binge-Watchers podcast.
Home video headlines. What's new in the greater world of movies, television, and streaming? Let's see. Jessica Alba, rumored to have sold an untitled R-rated female ensemble comedy pitch to Netflix. Remember her? She was Molly in Idle Hands. And she's the OG Sue Storm from the original Fantastic Four movies. Well, actually, no. There was one in the 90s that nobody's ever seen. You know about that notorious story where they actually had Roger Corman produce a freaking Fantastic Four movie so they wouldn't lose the movie rights? And then that got shelved. I don't think anybody saw it. There's bits and pieces of it online. It's fun to look up. And then they made, in the early 2000s, Jessica Alba with Sue Storm in two Fantastic Four movies, which were actually alright. And Michael Chiklis was the thing. You know what I'm talking about? This really happened. Now you just have the other one with Pedro Pascal and some other woman, I don't know who she is. And then they got, what's her name, from Ozarks to be the Silver Surfer. Anyway, that's a whole different thing. We're not going down that road. We don't got time for that. Alright, that was the whole point. Just Jessica Alba, she was previously in Fantastic Four. But, I mean, the breakout role that I remember was there's a horror movie called Idle Hands. It's kind of a horror comedy. And she was the next door neighbor that the main dude was into, and then they get caught up in this whole thing with the possessed hand coming after everybody, and it gets a little zombie style. Anyway, all right. You should go. Yeah, you should watch Idle Hands. That's actually pretty good. It's fun. Have we ever talked? We may have mentioned that in the show a couple of times, but we haven't really done a whole thing around it. Anyway, maybe one day, maybe we'll get to it. All right, where are we? Oh, Jonah Hill and Kristen Wiig are gonna be in a Wiig. Kristen Wiig, I don't know, whatever her name is. You know, that SNL girl. She's also in Anchorman 2, The Skeleton Twins. I mean, I'm sure Kristen Wiig is in a bunch of things. Oh, MacGruber. All right. Bridesmaids. That's her deal. Have you seen that movie? All right. Jonah and Kristen are going to be in this sibling comedy called Cut Off. Get this is what it is. Cut off from their parents' money. Written and directed by Jonah Hill. Looks like a Nepo baby all grown up. You know, has a costume designer mom and a dad that was in the music biz. So it's kind of funny. It's like, dude, are you writing an autobiography in your next movie? What's going on, dog? All right. Kristen Wiig is also going to play Roboto in the Masters of the Universe live action. Makes no sense. Thanks, Hollywood Reporter, for dropping that nugget on us. They're like, oh, gender swap. Can you gender swap a robot because they don't have gender? However, they do because we're humans. So we apply gender to everything. So yeah, we make male and female robots. And we program their voices to either be male or female so we can understand them. Science. Look it up. Okay. Deadpool is all but confirmed for Avengers Doomsday. That's fun. I'm sure Ryan Reynolds probably needs the money to buy another soccer team. Anyway. Or to keep up with Blake Lively and all her lawsuits. Who knows? Okay. Deadpool, can't wait to see you in Doomsday. You're a funny character. All right. Probably Ryan Reynolds' best thing besides this little, two guys in a pizza place or something. He was in a show where he had a cousin played by a comedian. What's the name of that show? Anyway, alright, moving on. Alright, there's a new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles TMNT box set. It's coming out in 4K. And of course, the original movie's in theaters. My buddy hates Part 3. But, Part 3 is still better than the last 25 movies released in movie theaters. Modern movies have this reliance on cheaper CGI and AI graphics. They're just making modern movies look awful, and letting the algorithms write these movies is making them all the same kind of cookie cutter or paint by numbers patterns when the movies come out. I mean, modern movies are just sad. I mean, this show is all about movies, and modern movies might end this show because what else is there to talk about? Alright. Tonight's movie of the week. Harold searches for a patient in this hospital who refused to be his Valentine 19 years ago, an X-ray, aka the Hospital Massacre. Yeah, it's weird. I mean, the production title is X-ray, but then if you look it up online and the streamers, the only way to watch the movie is if you find the copy that's called the Hospital Massacre. I don't know which one's a better title. I mean, probably the Hospital Massacre is more specific to what the movie's actually about, and X-ray could be anything. Alright. The film was shot at night in an actual abandoned hospital. It got rushed into production to capitalize on the slasher boom of the early 80s. According to an interview with director Boaz Davidson on the Region 1 Shout Factory DVD Blu-ray, the movie set was crowded on the day that Barbi Benton's nude scene was shot. Now, despite her liaison with Playboy magazine Hugh Hefner, she never was a Playmate of the Month, though she did appear on some covers and in various pictorials. Yeah, the movie has a Playmate. Playboy Bunny is the main character. Well, the character's on a Playboy Bunny. It's played by somebody that was a Playboy Bunny model or whatever. Alright, she recorded and released 4 albums for Playboy Records in the 1970s. I actually think Barbi Benton is the main female lead in the OG Deathstalker. And by the way, Deathstalker is being remade right now. Deathstalker is like a sword and sorcery B-movie saga with steel and skin. I loved them as a kid. They're probably not great now, but they're still better than anything that's coming out in the movies these days. Alright, we'll be right back with our favorite bits from X-Ray, aka the Hospital Massacre, right after these messages. Tonight's messages! We have a new affiliate, Opus Clip. Do you know them? If you've seen my clips on them socials or whatever, I'm clipping with this awesome tool called Opus Clip. You can turn 20 minutes of video into 30 short videos to share for your show, your pod, or whatever you want to share with your friends and fans online. Grab our affiliate link and start clipping today. Opus Clip. It's how I make one video a month's worth of content and you go, this guy's really cranking it out. No, I record one video and then it gets chopped and spliced into dandy little clips by Opus Clip. Boom! Try it today. Alright, I almost called you fellows and freaks. That's not... Usually we call our audience bingers, but those 2 F words were on my brain. I don't know what's going on. It's one of those dirty shows, huh? No, just kidding. Alright, back to the show already in progress with our favorite bits from X-Ray, aka the Hospital Massacre. Alright, favorite bits. Let's see. I love the fact that the dude manipulated the test results to make Susan seem crazy. That's a nice touch. That's Barbi Benton's character. The main character's name is Susan. So he screws with Susan's test results so she gets stuck in the hospital. And all the doctors don't trust her when she's saying like, oh, there was a head in the Valentine's package. And then he switches out the head and oh no, it's just a cake. He's really manipulating her and manipulating the doctors to make her seem crazy. The second death is an acid facial. Every hospital thriller seems to do this. There's always an acid bath. They're like, oh, the killer's a doctor, or it's set in a hospital, or a doctor's office. Dip somebody in acid. Kind of cliche at this point, right? I mean, It's happened in at least... Did it happen in Doom? What is that? What's that one? Oh, man. I'm having a hard time recovering titles today to give you examples. Sorry about that. Anyway, I think it's happened in 3 or 4 movies. I didn't write them down. Phew. Whoops. Not going to get a good grade or gold star on that piece of homework. All right, moving on. I like the classic exploitation scene where they examine the Playboy Playmate. That's the scene I was talking about earlier in the trivia moment when I was talking about the movie of the week that everybody came to set to see that scene. That's the one they were drooling over. All right. At one point, Harold has to remove a knife in his stomach to cut the ropes off a locked door, which I thought, this is kind of a zany Looney Tunes, almost Acme comedy Wile E. Coyote moment. It's like the killer gets stabbed. I think he got stabbed by Susan, and he's chasing her through the hospital towards the end of the movie. She's got no allies at that point, right? She's the final girl, right? The final patient. And it's examination day. Anyway, so he gets stabbed, and he's trying to pull the knife out to open a door, which I thought was like, this is ridiculous, but also a fun element. All right. Ratings. We have the special, magical, influential content creator, movie guy, personality chop up, where it's like, binge now, binge later, binge never. How that works, let me break it down for you if you haven't ever heard me say it before. Get it right now, watch it, don't wait. That's binge now. Get around to it, add it to the list. Doesn't have to be the top of the playlist. You'll eventually get around to it. It's worth a lazy afternoon's watch. That's binge later. Binge never is improbable. You can't get the 90 minutes back, the 2 hours of your life. You're going to feel like you wasted time in a doctor's waiting room. You can't get it back. It's gone. You've wasted your life and your time. That's binge never. Although, I do have a friend, she says, you can't ever binge never because the fact that you're talking about it means it's worth something, which means it can't never it. And in talking about how bad it is, people are going to watch it. It's an anomaly. Okay? All right. Fan service. What are the fans doing? Are they chiming in before we move on to staff picks? Let's see what's going on. Trisha K. Thanks for sending me a case of Mountain Dew Kickstarter, the pineapple flavor. You know, turns out it was just a drink and not poisoned after all. I drank the whole case. I took a chance. It showed up out of nowhere. How'd she find me? I don't know. That's a little creepy. Again, I thought maybe it came from the dark web. The drinks were fine. Enjoyed the whole case. Pack of 12. Kickstarter pineapple. Thank you, Trisha K. Hope you're enjoying the show. Hope you're enjoying Summer Slash this year. All right, moving on. Staff picks. What we're doing this year, this is the 7th year that we've done horror movie reviews during the summertime. We call it Summer Slash, a summer of slasher movies. This is Summer Slash 7, so we're doing the 7th entry, or Part 7, into the horror movie sagas that are out there, the franchises. And what we did this time was we pulled the 7th entry in the Howling series, which I thought was one of the remakes, because in the early to mid 2000s, they made 2 remakes to reboot the Howling werewolf movies. However, that's not this one. This one was in the 90s, and I think this is the sequel that almost killed the entire franchise. Let's take a look at this. A small desert community in Southern California in Pioneer Town begins experiencing a number of brutal werewolf-like slayings following the arrival of a strange biker dude. Alright, Howling New Moon Rising. This is not the remake that I thought it was last week. This is considered to be the worst Howling movie by most critics and fans alike. Ted is back, and in real life he's Clive Turner, who's in 3 Howling movies. He directed and wrote this one. He actually took over directing after the original director quit. The original director wanted to make a werewolf movie, and Clive wanted to concentrate on a movie about his friends who lived in Pioneer Town. You got line dancing and serving beer seems to be more prominent in this movie than the rubber mask werewolf in the last 5 minutes of the film. You know, Clive could have just made a movie about the biker culture in Pioneer Town and left Howling out of it completely. This one is kind of like the clip show of the Howling movies, where it shows clips from like 3 other Howling movies in order to get the running time up for the movie. Like, just to have stuff to put in the movie, they're showing clips from the other movies. And then you got more line dancing and bad jokes. It's a real bummer. I mean, probably, like I said, this is probably the one that killed the franchise for 2 decades. The golden rule of werewolves in movies is they generally make any movie better. And any werewolf movie is good, just like pizza or sex. But this movie doesn't use the werewolf that much, so I don't think it makes the cut to apply the werewolf movie rules. Now, Howling 2, Howling the Freaks, Wolfman from 2010, Underworld, The Wolf of Snow Hollow. There's a list of better werewolf movies if you need some to watch. All right, that's it. I couldn't really think of anything. I talked about Howling like a few months ago. We covered the Howling, and I said everything I had to say about the Howlings generally then. I don't want to recap it. I'm briefly going to talk about what's going on with the new Alien stuff, because there's a new Alien TV show from the Alien franchise, and it changes the chronological order of how things happen in that series. So this is how it breaks down, I think. So now it starts with Alien vs. Predator, then AVP Requiem, then Prometheus, then Alien Covenant, then the new show Alien Earth, then the original Alien, then Alien Romulus, then Aliens, then Alien 3, then Alien Resurrection. I'll run it back for you again. The new chronological canon order for the Alien movies: Alien vs. Predator, Alien vs. Predator Requiem, Prometheus, Alien Covenant, the new Alien Earth show on Hulu, Alien the original movie, then Alien Romulus, then Aliens, then Alien 3, then Alien Resurrection. I actually wanted Alien Earth to be set in 2025 because the most scary drop-off of these aliens to Earth would be like regular working Joes and Josephinas tangled with the xenomorph. Like, it's our place. Like, imagine them, breaking into Uber taxis and like scrapping with Lyft drivers and Uber drivers and rideshare people and like running through the alleys in downtown LA, like in modern day, not set way in the future where they know about the aliens and they have technology to fight them back and they got advanced stuff. No, man, no. Just regular people having to duke it out with the xenomorphs. That's the way to do the show. And it's always a bummer that it seems like instead of getting human lives, scrapping it out for survival against the monsters, what Alien and aliens and what they might be about is the artificial life forms, the androids that have their own agendas and they serve a corporate AI computer who wants to study or weaponize these biologicals that we keep capturing. However, all these alien movies and TV shows kind of disregard the original Alien, which is like, no, this is humans' first encounter with something awful out in space. But they're like, oh no, but something happened 200 years before that, and 200 years before that, and we've encountered these things several times, and we have a history, and we have all this stuff. If that's true, then the Space Marines in Part 2 shouldn't have gotten wiped out because they would have documents and studies and research done about these things previously, so it wouldn't be a big problem and couldn't wipe out the Marines because we would know. We'd have a whole playbook on how to deal with them, right? A whole tactic strategy in place. Since we've encountered them for 1,000 years, according to the other sequels that come and totally disregard or circumvent the first movie. Anyway, I'm pretty passionate about it. I know it doesn't maybe matter in real life, but it matters in some kind of psychological fan-based capacity. Because I'm thinking about it, And then I'm just sitting here going, the Alien movie this whole time could have been about the androids. It could have been about the artificial life. It could have, maybe the xenomorphs were never the threat. The bad guy was always the freaking android from the beginning, and we've all missed the whole point that it's not about the aliens, right? Anyway. All right. Let's see. Where are we at? Oh, man, I'm so sad. I think we've arrived at closing time. The denouement, the epilogue. Next time, we're going to cover this movie called Drive-In Massacre. It's about two police detectives trying to catch a serial killer who's stalking a rural California drive-in theater. And the dude's randomly killing people with a sword in Drive-In Massacre. This is really funny because we watched Der Samurai, which is a German slasher movie from years ago where that was the same thing. Some guy in a dress was stalking an entire town with a samurai sword. He comes out of the woods and starts killing people. Anyway, so I did not select it. Another killer with a samurai sword. It just happens to be part of the plot of Drive-In Massacre, which we're going to watch next week. That's the preview for that. We're also going to be watching the next 7th sequel in a long-running horror franchise. We're going to do Amityville, but we're doing Amityville Dollhouse, which apparently is the 7th entry in the original Amityville series. There's a haunted dollhouse that escapes the destruction of the Amityville house, and that, of course, the dollhouse is also haunted like the big house. There we go. The dollhouse itself is haunted, too. So there we go. Listen, kids. Billy Goats. Gen Zers. Binge-Watchers. millennials, Xlennials, Generation Zero, Generation Robot, Generation AI. Who's ever listening or watching out there, guess what? It's closing time. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. 'Tis closing time like the song says. Actually, you know what you should do? Go watch Back to the Future 3, and then tell me it's not good.